Welcome back to the Arcadian podcast. Today is Tuesday, June 11th, 2019, and it is episode number 19. No trending news today. We're going to be completely focused on E3 2019. Also, no Ben. Unfortunately, he's traveling, so we actually have a very, very special guest, a really good friend of ours, Josh McNeil. He's, like I said, he's a friend of ours, and we've played games with him for many years, so really excited to have him on. We talk games all the time off the air, but Josh, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys.
Of course. I thought, me personally, E3 is always an exciting time. I think we're gonna have a really good conversation, but I know I have a lot to say just about individual games, but just about the overall feel and style of the conference itself. But before we get into all of that, I thought it'd be good just to start with just what single game that we're each most excited for, or maybe just what our single favorite moment of the conference was.
Yeah, I think one. I feel like a lot of people's obvious favorite is probably going to be thinking right at the Keanu Reeves coming out, which was pretty exciting. But I don't know if I want to jump right into that right away. My go-to, I'm really looking forward to Age of Fantasy 2077. That's probably going to be the most anticipated game coming out here.
I really thought you were going to say Age of Empires. You threw me for a loop.
No, actually, what I'm actually excited for, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I think that is my most anticipated game. Not because I think it's going to be like the most excellent game compared to other things coming out at the moment, but it was it looks like a very accurate, retelling of like the Z saga, which is exciting enough. I know they've done it a million times, but they're marketing as like an action RPG, and that's like what I've always wanted with a Dragon Ball Z game. I don't mind like the arcadey style fighting and things like that, but if they can do like a more like open world, like more than just like fight, like a little bit of extra.
They used to do that on the Game Boy.
Yeah,
like the Game Boy Advance. I can't remember what
Legacy
the games are called.
Goku.
Okay, they were the best games. You would have like a party that you could switch between. Like I remember playing as Goku or Vegeta or Trunks or whoever, and you would have different moves. Yeah, they were like the best games.
Well, I would imagine since this one's called Dragon Ball Z Kakarot that you probably only play as Goku, but yeah, one of the Cybermen maybe for a little bit, but but I mean, even if it is Xenoverse, yeah, but the only issue with that, I mean, it was just like fight after fight.
Yeah. What was that old PlayStation game you told me about that one time?
Looked always good. Guy too.
Dragon Ball Z Legends, I think. But that one, I mean, that's a great game too, but it's just fight. Game over. I need a little bit of substance.
Dave, what's your favorite E3 game?
Well, probably wouldn't expect it from me, but I'm going to go with Animal Crossing.
I'm starting to expect it from you now. It's really good.
I just remember playing that game on, I think, GameCube, and it was a lot of fun. And I was reading about this one. It just seems like there's a lot more like you know what I mean? There's even more shit to do now, and there's like co-op stuff. And there's like a lot of different ways to progress, and I don't know, it's cool. And like I'm a big fan of the Switch just in general. I like how you can, you know what I mean? You hook up your TV, you can play with it, you can bring it on a plane, you can bring it in the car, you can bring it on the shitter. I'm about that.
Be like me, take it to work.
Yeah, exactly. I like the versatility, and I haven't played Animal Crossing in like 15 years, so I'm ready to play it again.
So you're gonna be getting it?
Yeah, definitely.
Would you rather see an animal? Would you rather see an Animal Crossing game or a Harvest Moon game?
Probably Animal Crossing. It's like the one game that like isn't competitive and is relaxing that I actually like to play. So I'm ready. I'm ready for a new one.
Yeah, when's the release date? They pushed that back, right? It's gonna be
March 20th, 2020.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Eesh.
it's kind of a long time.
Eesh.
I think the really only experience I have with Animal Crossing is beating on people in Super Smash with townspeople. That might be the extent of
Well,
my.
you've never beat us, so I have yet to see that. Josh, what's your
Shots fired
favorite?
there. It was an indie game, Songs of Conquest. I think it really hit me in the nostalgia feels. Was a big Heroes of Might and Magic guy growing up. That one seemed to appeal to me the most, besides maybe Doom.
Yeah, it looks a lot like the like texture pack of something like a Heroes 3, which I think was probably my favorite Might and Magic game.
That's a good point. It did look like that, huh?
Yeah.
I think 3 was the best, but 2 was my favorite.
Okay, I never played 2. 3 was the first one that I experienced, so
good stuff.
yeah. I mean, I liked 5 a lot too. I actually played the shit out of Might and Magic 5. Like a ton. I was always Academy. You could get the they're like the Rakshasa Rajas, I think their names were, those blue lions with like the 4 arms and the swords. Those guys were sick.
Which was the one that had the intro with the like paladin-esque king guy fighting the demon?
That
like
was it.
Circular. So
that was 5.
That was 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good game. And then I
that one.
bought 6. Actually, not thinking about it, I should probably just refund it because I only played like a half an hour. But yeah, it just wasn't any good. They changed the way that resources worked in 6, and it just kind of killed the game.
Seems like a strange thing to change.
Yeah. Instead of like picking up mines like within your territory, you would battle over these, I almost want to say regions, where if you controlled that region, you would get like a pool of resources that would be different. You would get like rock, stone, gems, crystal, whatever. It was a strange change. Yeah, I agree. But what's that?
Yeah, I agree with Wolf. I mean, that seems like something way too. I mean, I know that you've played them, so collecting resources was like pretty much 90% of the reason you left the castle.
Yeah, it's the core of the game.
Yeah, or else yeah. If you didn't, you would just use the old Australian risk strategy and sit there and just build up and do nothing and wait for some fool to come into your territory and light them up.
Yeah, but the AI in that game was always so good.
Oh my gosh!
If you bumped that difficulty up, yeah, you could never win.
Impossible. It was the hardest game.
But you'd think you're so strong, you'd run into like the last computer player and he'd have like 10 stacks of like 100+ black dragons or something. You'd be like, oh, well, so just quit here.
Well, it was a good run.
I think
there goes 4 hours.
I think my favorite piece of the conference, I don't know, maybe FIFA 20.
FIFA 20.
Now, obviously, it's Halo Infinite. I think that should go as no surprise. But I think this might be a nice segue because I think it pretty much sums up my general feelings of the entire conference as a whole. Like, I've been waiting for more footage or more news to come out about Halo Infinite. I've been excited about it for a long time. And then they give us this trailer. You get to see Chief for what? I don't know, 25, 30 seconds, which he looks great. Armor looks good. The music was good. You see him out the window and you get the little Halo piano chords, and it was like I almost fell out of my chair. It was awesome. But I don't understand how they couldn't have more there. The game's only a year and a half out. I mean, I know that's a lot of time, but they should have something. There should be some sort of gameplay. And that's how I felt about the entire conference. I don't need a 5-minute trailer of an engineer that I've never seen before and him missing his family and then 30 seconds of Chief. I don't understand the marketing strategy there, and I don't understand why that would be what they want to unveil at a conference as prestigious as E3.
Yeah, it was kind of like that bait and switch, right? Like they dangled this. I wasn't sure what I was watching at first with Halo Infinite in particular. With like you said, like the mother talking to the child, and he's like getting all sentimental. And I feel like it just kind of raises more questions. I know this is going to be like a spiritual successor to the Halo franchise, the story, like the, I don't know, revitalization of it, which should be cool. But you're right, like a year and a half out, and they don't have anything.
It's wild. And Honestly, I think what I realized after watching that trailer and being very disappointed in what I saw, other than the Chief and other than like the 5 seconds of Halo music that I got, Halo to me, I think, is very reliant on the Covenant as being the main enemy in the game, and showing like a lot of footage of the Covenant. Like in Halo 2, you get to see the insides of the ship, and you get to see like the prophets of truth and regret, and you also get to play as the Arbiter, right? And you kind of get that background of how they operate. That to me is the part of Halo lore that is the most enticing.
It's a good point.
And to not show that, and for 343 to continue to move away from the Covenant within what they've done with this franchise, it just, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, the Flood was an interesting spin on the whole zombie thing, but I think they did a good job in 1 and 2 of portraying the Flood. 3, I think it got a little convoluted. I mean, the Grave Mine definitely kind of made things a little strange, and then Halo Wars really made the Grave Mines into like something way bigger and more threatening than even the Covenant, or what they led on to be this, interstellar infection or virus.
Yeah, with this like genius.
Yeah, like they can
mind
take
at its
on
core
AI.
that can, it was definitely strange. Yeah.
I think
Just
that
doesn't-
the last good Halo game was obviously Reach.
Well, yeah, Reach, the Reach campaign is
And I would even go ahead.
well, I just think the Reach campaign is, I think it's one of the best shooter campaigns that I've ever played. Maybe the best.
I think the story was a lot better. I wasn't a big fan of like the armor system. I really liked the challenging aspect of Halo 3, like going for those Vidmaster achievements and getting that recon armor.
Oh yeah.
Or that first time you saw that Hayabusa helmet in Halo 3, you were like, what?
Very, very cool. I agree. But
trick little kids are running around the
I don't
maps.
know. Like I said, I think that that's a really good case. I think that the Halo Infinite trailer is a really good case for my personal feelings, at least on E3, and being a little bit let down on the entire thing from big studio to big studio. Not that they didn't have cool releases, not that the trailers weren't well made, or not that there's like not things to be excited for, but I was just left feeling like this is it. You've had a year to prepare, probably more. They probably prepared a couple years out for this stuff because they know what's coming down the pipe, and I just thought we'd get a little bit more.
Yeah, and it just seems like the common theme now is like all the gaming companies are kind of like just in like a lull right now. You know what I mean? Like no matter what company you think of, like everybody's like struggling to produce like the next big thing. And like they keep just going back to like remaking old games and making it, version 2 or version 3 or whatever. I feel like that's just like what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
New IPs are few and far between, that's for sure.
I don't
It's
think
like
sorry.
no, you're good. I just go back to like it's like they're almost like afraid to like invest a lot of money into something new for it in case it would fail, and like the time it takes to develop, and they're just trying to like use old stories and old games and just revamping them, and I feel like that's just all we're seeing for the most part, like right now.
Yeah,
You're
Climb
right
out of
to
the
a
hole they
point.
dug themselves in.
I want to say that, I don't think that's necessarily such a bad thing that this kind of like lull state. I feel like this is probably to be expected, and that like Matt was saying, that all this, like a lot of the footage, I'm going to say almost probably like 80-90% of what we saw there like actually wasn't in-game footage. It was just like alluding to, hey, we're working on this. Like in the case of Halo Infinite, you really don't get even any story behind it. But I feel like our expectations for all of these huge companies every year is just getting out of control. And I think we've all come to expect, like every year, every single big group, EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, Ubisoft, coming out just saying like, we're making this, we're making that, and they're all just like home runs. Like I just don't think that that's how games have ever been made in the past, and they're definitely not going to be like that in the future. And that's why we're seeing like all this like, I mean, Nintendo's was like 15 different games releasing for the Switch. It was like half their presentation.
Yeah, it was. You're right. I think Dave and Adam, I think those are both great points. I agree with you both. I think that expectations are a little high. I think that's kind of a double-edged sword, because I think we do expect a lot of them because we've gotten such good games in the past. So I think that a lot of people just want the best of the best, right? And I think that that's a good thing, because you want people to try to hold these studios accountable to make the best product that they can, right? I mean, that's, at the end of the day, I think, at least where I always come from, that's what I really want. And that's why I sometimes get disappointed. But I think at the same time, I think you're right, Adam, to a certain extent, that, you know, not everybody's gonna have, you know, the newest and the greatest IP every year, especially when they're competing amongst each other. I mean, there's gonna be winners and losers every year. Unfortunately, this year, I think everybody might have lost. I think we might have lost too. But I think, yeah, it was just ugly. But I don't know. There's just like this culture there that kind of sickens me, where it's like they can roll anything out, and no matter what it is, everybody's just gonna eat it up. It reminds me a lot of like the big Apple press conferences, and you know, I guess they are both tech related, so I can see why they're moving in that direction, but I just don't think that it's healthy for there just to be so much praise all the time for like whatever is coming out, no matter what, when I think we should really just step back and say like, whoa, like this is a lot of what we've seen before. You know, where's the new stuff?
I think the upside to looking at that is that it gives more, you know, it puts the indie games in the spotlight more, which I think is pretty good. I mean, whether you want to say that they fall under Xbox or whatever, it gives, you know, those small guys a chance to step up and go, you know, look at these games too. You know, these can be good as well as these big AAA, you know, knockout games.
Right. That's
I
a good
mean,
point. But I feel like, you know, you say that like they give them that opportunity, and there was a lot of indie stuff there, but then you have like, you know, not to jump too far ahead here or anything, but like Nintendo alluding to that they're making like a Breath of the Wild sequel. No dates, no nothing. And like everyone gets super hyped up about that. I feel like it makes it, I'm sure, you know, very difficult, and very difficult for indie developers, and very easy for everyone else to just glance over that stuff and be like, well, you know, I'm just going to wait for this next great thing. Like, why am I going to waste my time playing such and such indie game?
Nintendo did the same thing with Metroid last year, as well as Bethesda doing that with the Elder Scrolls and was it
Exactly.
Starfall? Yeah.
Oh, I feel like they're chasing their tails now, right? Like they just keep alluding to stuff in the future, like, you know, stay excited. Like, you know, maybe our stuff this year isn't that great. I want to see more companies do, you know, I don't know all the reasons why Sony didn't show up, but if it was because they thought they didn't have shit and it was going to be a boring presentation, like the majority of what I feel like we saw this year, then I'd rather people just not go to E3 if there's not something big to announce, or do it every 2 years or something.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just feel like, you know, these are big companies. They employ a lot of people and they have a lot of money. You would think that they would be prepared for something like this on this big of a stage. I agree, if you don't have something, sit it out, because there's no point in going, because you're only going to get negative press from it.
Yeah.
But they know, and this comes around the same time every year. This doesn't like sneak up on you. Like your marketing and PR team, they know as soon as E3 2018 ended, they knew, okay, let's start prepping for E3 2019, because we need to have stuff to show. And I don't know what those teams were doing for the last year, because they just didn't show anything.
I mean, I'm going to assume that we're not going to really talk about Devolver Digital here, but I marked down that, you know, to go along with this is that Devolver Digital had a 21-minute conference. Okay. And I did the math, and 2 minutes and 40 seconds of that 21-minute conference was actual game trailers. Three of those games are already out. One being a cabinet version that they're going to put in homes.
What were those games?
Carrion was 45 seconds long. Gungeon Arcade 25 seconds. Messenger, the Messenger expansion 30 seconds, and then My Friend Pedro was a minute long. So 2 minutes and 40 seconds of a 21-minute conference. The rest was like watching an evening episode of Adult Swim. It's like, why are you even there? You know, what is that? Just to sit there, and the rest of the time they just crack jokes about how the industry is, like in shambles. So it's like, here you are making jokes, but you spent the money on this conference to be here and do this. You know what I mean? So it's like, what you talked about 3 games that are already out. You're releasing one new game. You gave us a minute trailer, and then you're just going to sit here and bag on all the big companies, and be sarcastic.
It's a perfect point. E3, and maybe I'm being naive here as far as what influence E3 has on a game company's sales. But from my perspective, when I see something at E3 that I'm really excited for, I think about that game for a long time. To Adam's point, like Breath of the Wild, I will know that is in the pipeline forever now, and I will immediately buy it when it comes out. If you have a good E3, your sales are going to be off the charts as long as your presentation is good and your game's good. So why gloss over it?
Yeah, I agree with that, and especially like E3, because like E3 is so big and like so publicized. Like I think a lot more of the casual people see stuff that, you know what I mean, see E3 announcements than like a normal announcement that you probably, you know what I mean, that isn't as publicized.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's writing E3 articles, everybody's talking about E3. So like you're getting definitely more exposure by announcing it at E3 because there's so much more coverage of it. And like more casual people are definitely gonna like encounter an article or a video or something because it's just everywhere for this week.
That's true. Like to ad nauseum. I can't stand. I didn't realize like the countdown timers leading up to certain companies like presentations, like how misleading they were. It was like I'd be on like watching like IGN or something, and they'd be like countdown, like hour and a half, like the time listed, and so like hour and a half goes by, and then like it's just like a new countdown to the to the presentation, like another 30 minutes, and it's just these guys just talking and talking and talking and talking about like the last year's E3. It's just I don't care. Like this thing could have been condensed into one day with like the biggest stuff, and it would have been like a great one day thing. But it's what, 4 days? They just drag it out.
Yeah, it's way too long.
It just, I mean, E3 is just milking.
I mean,
the conference itself milks it.
I mean, even take out that filler time, which I agree with you. It's unbearable. But even the presentations themselves this year, and like the journalists, like do all the games companies try to find the least personable people and the worst speakers that they can to do the presentations? Like, is it like a prereq to get like the worst looking and sounding and least excited people on the planet? Or does it just work out that way? Because I can't even watch them. I mean, and I hate to be that harsh, but I'm telling you, I'm trying. Not only do I enjoy E3 because I love games, but I'm also doing it so that we can have a good show here. So I have 2 really good reasons to watch this stuff, and I'm sitting there like, oh my god, we're 20 minutes in, and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm not gonna make it. You can't watch it.
It makes you just want to wait for whoever is gonna just cut it and throw it up as just like this trailer 10-minute video on YouTube, rather than just sit here and watch the whole conference.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm already searching them out.
Wait for the Crobe Cat supercut.
I mean, maybe this would make me sound entitled, but like I feel like, to go along, like piggyback off Maddie's point, is if you're going to show something, I feel like you're kind of, maybe this is just me, like I said, it could be, sounds like entitlement, but I feel like you're kind of obligated to continue to show that in following years if you're not going to get it. Bethesda, in defense of Bethesda, even after their crap show, they told everybody going in, you're not going to get anything Starfield or Elder Scrolls, so don't even ask. All right. But okay, if you're going to sit there and say for 2 years straight that you're going to, we're working on this, and then give us a splash trailer and then nothing else, that's that's garbage. Like I said before, Nintendo did it with Metroid. Like, show us something, you're working on it, even if it's just like a video of like you're walking through the studio office and people are working on it. You get like little clips of what they're doing, like something, not just title screen, then nothing for 2 years,
Well, that's that pressure, right? Like you said, you feel like you need to see more of it. And I feel like all these companies are feeling that pressure from, not only like games journalists, but like their consumers, right? After they announce it. And I feel like they're announcing things way too early. Like we knew about Cyberpunk 2077 and like you were saying, like the Metroid. And now in this year, it's going to be the Breath of the Wild sequel. Like we're just going to be expecting to hear more about it. And it's probably nowhere near ready. Nothing to really even show.
I think you're right. They might be announcing things too early to build hype. But on the flip side of that argument or feeling, I just feel like, again, like what I said before, these are really, really big companies with a lot of resources, like so many resources that they could almost do anything with their time and their marketing. I feel like they have time to prep. It's not like E3 is a sneak attack. They don't get an email and it's like red alert, it's E3 this week, you gotta go, you just whatever footage we have, get up on the screen. They have like years to get this stuff ready. I just feel like they can do a better job, and they know they can do a better job. If they heard this criticism, they'd be like, yeah, like, Matt's right, like this stuff sucked.
Would you think that E3 is bigger than Gamescom? Do you think there are people at, upcoming Gamescom going, don't show too much, we need a little for Gamescom,
Maybe.
I feel like we're not going to get anything
I
of
think
Halo.
E3's the biggest.
Definitely.
We won't see any Halo at Gamescom. We won't see any of these big games at Gamescom, guaranteed. But, I like you said, it's E3, it's the big one. Show us something. You want to build the hype and sell your product, do it.
Yeah, I feel like the whole community's on the edge of their seats too. Everybody's like chomping at the bit.
Don't use a celebrity and a dog to sell me on it either. Show me what I'm going to be playing.
Well, let's talk about Cyberpunk and Keanu. Just while you're talking about celebrities, because I love Keanu and I love Cyberpunk, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on.
Oh yeah, I mean, who doesn't like John Wick? The Matrix. I mean, and you watch any interview with Keanu, and he seems like a generally stand-up guy, and you could say that about anybody or whether they're putting a face on, but Keanu seems to be well loved by like most of the entertainment industry's, consumers. Like everybody seems to like him, even though they don't, nobody actually knows him. But I don't need you to sell me on him. Make it a surprise. Like the game comes out and you're like, oh my God, Keanu Reeves is in this game. Like, wow, I love it now. Like, don't say, now it's coming. So you're going to look for it and be like, oh, there he is. And that's going to be the end of it, really, probably.
I think it was too big to keep under wraps. I mean, I know Matt was saying that how boring the most of the presenters are, trying to announce like their new games. Keanu did it was fun. Like I wouldn't want every single game to have like an actor come out and announce their game, but something exciting like that. It is E3, and I think that was a good move on their part. It was definitely the highlight, probably of the entire show.
Well, it's what, like, and Matt had said it earlier that that you tread a fine line when you do that as well, because it's like, I don't want to play as a celebrity. I want to play as something that I can inject myself into. That's like what makes Master Chief so awesome. It's like you are just this empty shell and a husk, and you almost like insert yourself into that character when you're playing, right? Like whether right or wrong, but when you see Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk, you're just going to think, the Baba Yaga or whatever, it's John Wick. It's John Wick in Cyberpunk.
That's a good point. It kind of would potentially ruin the immersion. Who knows where he shows up? Maybe it's just an Easter egg.
I mean, my criticism, Josh, like you said, my criticism was of Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order, because it's the kid from Gotham and Shameless. And he's he's a very recognizable actor. He's got that bright red hair. He's younger. Like, you know, you can pick him out of a crowd pretty easily. And like, not saying anything about the actor, I just don't want to play the game as him. I don't know. Let me customize the character. I think that the player deserves that. If they're going to be paying $60 and playing 50 hours or something, I think you can make a customizable character. If the facial features are a little bit worse, whatever. You know, you can't see him anyway. His back's to the goddamn screen the whole game.
I mean, that's what makes a game good, right? The quality of the story and the level of escapism you get from it, right? That's why we all essentially play games, you know, besides maybe competition.
That's true. I feel like that having Forrest Whitaker in there too kind of like brings you back down to, I'm not crazy about him in most recent films I've seen him in.
Yeah, how do you just feel about Fallen Order? Fallen Order in general.
Terrible.
You're gonna go terrible. You're gonna go terrible on it.
I'm so disappointed. I think, you know, we talked about it briefly. The combat, it looks really bad. I know a lot of people were hung up on the lightsabers themselves, like their contact with the enemies. They don't like cut through people. They like carve them a little bit. They don't. It doesn't look like a real lightsaber. That, and I couldn't believe how piss poor the animation was on the blocking, because I feel like they showed that a lot in the gameplay trailer. And you know, you think back to like all these Star Wars movies, especially like the prequel trilogy, when you saw the Jedi like deflecting like blaster shots back at people, it was like they're like whipping the lightsaber around, like doing all this crazy stuff. Like it looks awesome. Like that is the coolest thing. He's literally just standing there, like holding it right in front of him, like think, like not moving at all. He couldn't be any more rigid. It just looks, and that's all it is. The game is all action. Like it's not like an open world, like
Fallen Order,
run around.
Pong simulator.
You're on rails. You can tell, like,
oh yeah,
it's fighting. Like
very.
This is what the game is about, and it looks boring.
I think.
Go
ahead, Josh.
Jedi Academy, you know, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, Obi-Wan did it all better for sure. I mean, I'm definitely interested in the story because I did enjoy Rogue One, so it's cool to see Forrest Whitaker in there as his character. I can't remember his name in the movie, but the story looks cool. And I had said that I was definitely interested, but you know, looking back on it after you guys had made your points about the combat, it did look shaky. But you know, we'll see how they do. You know,
yeah, I mean, they still have time to fix it up. I agree that the combat looked really bad, but I'm gonna go off on just on a little side rant. But just the Star Wars franchise in general, with the movies and games that we've gotten in the past decade, I don't understand it. How is nobody able to create an entertaining form of media with what I would argue, and you guys can push back on this, I'll go out as far to say I think Star Wars might have the best IP and some of the best workable characters and story elements of any story like ever written in modern times. Like lightsabers, the Force, Jedi and Sith, like, and it's in space to boot, is, I don't think anything's cooler. It's all laid out right in front of people. Just make something good. How hard can it be? It's all right there.
They probably should have pulled, what was it, 1303? I feel like they should have just pulled that back out of the trash can and kept working on that. You know, because everybody was pumped for that, you know, bounty hunter style game. I think they should have went back to that. You know, what arguably the most fun part of the KOTOR games was building up to that point, you know, in my opinion. Like, yeah, when you finally got your lightsaber, you got it and it was exciting. But after that, it was kind of like, well, what color can I get? But everything leading up to that was, you know, what weapons can I get? You know, you went from having a blaster or like a stun sword or whatever, and then you got the vibro blade, and then it was like, wow, you know, I can fight a lightsaber with this, you know, and like there's so many more interesting things out there. You know, like I know Matt just said, oh, the Force and lightsabers is awesome, but between everything else, they're like Old Republic.
Mhm.
You don't have to play as a Jedi. You can play as a bounty hunter, Republic commando, any of those. And some people would probably say they're arguably even more fun than playing your stereotypical Jedi or Sith. And like to go on Matt said about, you have this expansive universe, I think Disney really dropped the ball by, bringing down the axe on what is Legends now. But, the expanded universe, there's so much. Like you don't even have to sit there and come up with your own new IP. I mean, like come out with something that's post, you know, Star Wars, cinematic universe. You know, I know they're gonna do the KOTOR thing here.
Thank goodness, because
Mm,
that should be. I mean, there's just so much there that you can make a movie out of, and that probably a lot of people aren't very familiar with. So it'll be like fresh, and I don't know. People won't have these like really rigid ideals about their favorite characters like Luke and Leia. Not. I mean, I do really hate the these most two recent Star Wars films and the most recent trilogy. But I mean, why set, like you said, like why set yourself up to essentially for failure when you have this, like you have like a blank canvas and like all these great story elements. You could just go nuts with it. It would be so easy to do.
Oh, I mean, every kid, all they wanted was like a real lightsaber. Maybe that,
Right.
or like to shoot a Kamehameha beam out of their hands. Those two things.
I mean, I'd buy an
It's
Ewok
just
game.
not hard from my perspective. I don't get it.
I always found like, give me a movie or a game or whatever, and I'm sure there's probably a book out there, but of Wookiees, man, I always thought like they're always so cool. You never got anything,
Yeah, now
right?
you're talking my language.
Oh, you shouldn't have got him started, Josh. Look what you did.
Like, how
we
cool
we
is
have a strict anti-Wookiee policy on this podcast.
how cool is Kishik though in KOTOR? Come on,
It's great.
going down and below the trees, to fight those crazy force resilient, or the Tarkatans or the Wolf knows what I'm talking about.
I do, but not to get like totally off point
The
here, but I
Tauntauns.
feel like I feel like they totally missed a point in that Han Solo movie, like, his origin thing, if you could call it that, where like the Wookiees have like this life debt thing that they have, and that like maybe he's indebted to Han. So it just like never really became apparent. I just thought it was silly. Because Wookiees are cool. They got like a cool culture and stuff.
Yeah, they're very
More
cultured.
Wookiee. Yeah.
But like how with how popular Star Wars is and like all this shit that's in it that's cool and like how far reaching it is and how long it's been around, it is like it's actually like impressive like that they haven't been able to make like a good fucking game.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
It's like it's almost mind-boggling.
It's crazy. I
It's
agree.
sad.
Before we talk about, I want to talk about more games because there's just a ton here. But before we do that, I want to touch on Ubisoft coming out with this like $15 subscription service thing for their games, and like everybody and their brother coming out with their own subscription service. I think that I might make my own. Maybe you guys can. We can all four have our own.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be like $10 a month.
Oh man, you might as well just charge 15. It seems
But
to be
I
the
guess
standard.
like I don't know. We've talked about this before, and I feel like it's just getting worse and worse because like Stadia is coming now. Its pricing model is a joke. We kind of thought it was going to be. It is. I think it's actually laughable. I don't know who's gonna buy it, but I don't know. Am I being naive here, or like who's gonna buy a Ubisoft subscription for $15 to play Ubisoft games?
Never.
Anyone?
I don't know. Like
Never.
we talked about this before. Like me personally, and I think a lot of other people are like people are getting burnt out on subscription shit. Everything's a subscription now, and it's like
But just
it's just like
doubled.
what I mean. It's just like too much fucking. It's like too much money. Like it's just disappearing from you all the time.
I mean, it's not like they're coming out with new stuff monthly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's
What am
like
I getting?
Yeah, it's like you're
You're like-
paying for access to nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I like even when I do subscribe to things, I like end up doing it, and then like, you know what I mean? Like I pay it, and then I don't end up using it at all, and it's like not worth it. And I feel like that's I don't know.
I know you guys disagree with the whole thing, but like, I mean, at least Xbox changes the library on a monthly basis, you know?
Yeah.
But like, as
I guess it's
Ubisoft being
something.
like they have much more to work with, but like, what are you going to get out of a $15 subscription with Ubisoft? And on top, it's not like they're including, Xbox at least gives you, gold, right? With that. And I don't even know what else but Ubisoft, you get what? They're still going to ask you for more
Yeah.
money for expansions and season pass. Obviously, I guess expansions, but season passes and everything else. Is this $15 a month going to give me access to your games day one? Do I still have to buy a hard copy of your game?
Oh, you
Definitely
have to.
not.
'Cause
Yeah,
you have
it's
to-
going to be
you-
old games.
You have to do it on Stadia. You got to buy the games for full price.
Yeah,
What kind of business model is that?
Right. Well, I think like to me, there's no other explanation except like they're just trying to suck money out of people. What other explanation is there?
Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Like they're like I think you'd have to be stupid to say that they're not trying to just fucking pull as much money out of their asses as they can.
And it's recurring revenue, right? It's not a one-time sale. It's sales that they can predict and forecast.
Exactly. Right. And like there's people that like I don't know, like people, you know what I mean? People get like FOMO. They think that like if they don't get it, they're gonna miss out.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, which I don't think about very often. Yeah, it'll probably be a huge success.
You'll find
We all have it.
Yeah, I'm like on the pre. I just bought it. I'm paying like double the price.
Yeah, you pre-ordered your monthly subscription in advance.
I guess it's gonna be tough to get through this without talking about FF7. So
How's that work?
I mean, before we move on, but while we're on Ubisoft,
okay,
big E3 conference, right? We're still talking about For Honor and Rainbow Six Siege 5 years later.
Yep.
At E3. What?
Two games that I gotta be honest with you. I mean, Siege is fun every once in a while, but like For Honor,
I liked it, but it's dead.
It's just
rage-inducing dead game.
The lifespan on that game was like it wasn't
3
even
months.
I don't even know if it was months. It might have been weeks.
Yeah, the peer-to-peer thing really killed that game for them right off the bat.
Oh, I remember that was a big problem. Yeah, okay. It's starting to come back to me.
They're announcing characters at E3.
Yeah, for a game that's 5 years old. And on top of that, they're what, the Quarantine? Quarantine was already a mode that they announced like I think last March. It was like there's your stereotypical zombie mode, and it was for like a week. And we're gonna announce that it's coming back at E3. Like, give me a break.
Strange. Well, hey, in Watch Dogs Legion, you can play as an old lady, so because that's everybody's fantasy to be a 90-year-old grandma.
Do you guys feel let down by the Elden Ring announcement or no? What do you guys think?
That's a good question. I was a little bit thrown off by it because it's not called Great Rune. I saw almost maybe 0 horses.
Right.
But I was looking for a little bit more. I thought I guess it is a newer announcement, but they had said that they had been working with George R.R. Martin for 3 years in a prior story, so I thought that they might have a little bit more. Again, I don't want to keep harping on this, but it's going to be hard not to, because I literally feel this way almost about every single thing that we saw. But that 2-minute trailer, as hyped as I am for a George R.R. Martin From Software duo, I got nothing out. I have no idea what it is. I was
weird.
Just as excited as I was coming in, or I would even say maybe even a little bit less excited. It did nothing for me.
I listened to your previous podcast when you guys were going on about the horses. Hilarious, by the way. But and I know I've talked to you guys, at least Wolf, about this particular anime, but I would much sooner see. I mean, I'm just kind of disgusted with the whole George R.R. Martin Game of Thrones things after the season finale. Just give me the book already. But I want to see a Berserk game from those guys. I mean, they already pull from Berserk. And parts of their lore, and I don't really think a studio could do a IP like Berserk quite like anybody else.
I feel like that could be said about a lot of I mean, I don't know if there was too much of it. Other, Dragon Ball Z like anime games out there, but I want to say 99.9% of the time, the developers do not give those stories justice, and their games usually just so horrible. Every single one of them. Dragon Ball may be the exception. It's had a few gems, but
Mm-hmm.
in
I
recent
mean,
memory, most anime inspired anything or manga adaptations, whatever you want to call it, bad.
I feel like I could have some faith in From Software. They haven't let anybody down yet.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, a company like that, maybe they can do it, but the track record is very poor.
Yeah. I think the last Berserk game we got was a Dynasty Warriors clone. And I've never really been a big fan of Dynasty Wars, to be honest.
Right.
You know what else really got me good? I was like half disgusted, kind of like half laughing out loud, was the Avengers trailer. Just because I am so sick of the Avengers. I feel like I'm really in a mood today. Maybe Ben's not here to keep me in check, but I'm being really negative about a lot of stuff. But I just, that's honestly how I felt about it, so it's hard to avoid it. But like the Avengers stuff, like, haven't we gotten enough Avengers? Maybe not. Maybe the public still wants more, but I feel like we have. But how funny was it, like, seeing the cast? It's like the guys' stunt doubles are coming out as the main cast for this game. I mean, it's hilarious.
That's
Just
a good way to put it.
No content.
It's so like lesser known brothers.
Well, that's the first thing I said to Josh. I was like, oh, they didn't get the voice actors like from the movie. They didn't get the actors and actresses to do that. I mean,
because they're probably so sick of doing it too. They feel like everybody else. They're like, oh, I mean, the voice actors are probably like, oh my god, again, I gotta be Tony Stark again.
Yeah. I mean,
like for me, like, I don't know, I never really cared for like superhero games that much ever in my life. It's just obviously a personal thing. I'm not saying they're not good. I just never really cared for them, so like I don't get excited for.
Did you guys ever play X-Men Legends?
Yeah,
It was kind of like a top-down game. I thought that was good. I really liked like creating your party and all that. I thought that was good.
Did I play? Oh no, I did play Legends. Is that's similar to Ultimate Alliance, right?
Yeah.
I liked Ultimate Alliance a lot.
Yeah, I really liked picking, like having Colossus and Nightcrawler, and if you got sick of them, you just swap in for Phoenix or something else,
Yeah, Deadpool was always in it, I think, and I used to Wolverine had the health regen, so if you didn't take him, you were crazy.
Matty, you're a big Borderlands guy, right? What do you see yourself more excited about, Outer World or Borderlands 3?
Oh, I know so much about both. I could really dive into this. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't think either. I don't see myself playing either. Maybe if I had more time, I would pick one of them up. I just don't have a lot of time to play games anymore. But I can like really only play like what I'm really, really interested in anymore. But maybe Outer Worlds, just because it's something different. I think that's what I'll go with. I think just any new IP. And who's making that? It's
I don't even know.
Is it Obsidian?
I got a real Bulletstorm.
Who is it? Oh yeah, it is Obsidian. Okay, I mean they've made some games in the past that have been good. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's my answer. Outer Worlds.
I don't know a damn thing about either of those, and I think we talked about Borderlands 3 briefly in the past. I don't understand. I think we alluded to it earlier too, like the amount of, I don't know, just stupid shit that people just eat up.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of these announcements, I'd be like watching the chat live, people just going berserk over trailers and things. I'm looking at them like, man, it just doesn't. Yeah, it's just not inspiring. None of this is inspired.
Like the take my money, like. Hold your money. Like, wait for something good.
we can't move on without giving a bitch about Bethesda not giving anybody a single apology for Fallout 76. Not one.
Yeah, what did they say? They just said that they are working hard.
We appreciate your criticism.
Oh, that they said appreciate criticism?
Yeah, we only got in trouble for false advertising, like not once, but twice but 3 times.
Tell me, and everybody else, Josh, that you didn't buy it.
I did not buy it.
Okay.
I knew it was
I
going to
thought
be
maybe
a
you
shit
did.
show.
Oh no, actually, it was you and I that were talking about it. It was going to be shit. I
Slayer
remember,
and Jay
and
were
they
all
got
excited
it.
about it.
Yeah. I
It's
remember.
like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Right? How does it happen? I mean, it happens to people we know too. They just hop in, and that's what they get. Like, we can kind of tell from looking at it, like something's up here. Like, this just, I'm not sure this is it.
Paid crowd or not, Todd Howard really knows how to get those people going. But it's like, I just sat there in disgust.
I love Todd Howard, man.
Oh my God.
Pete Hines and Todd Howard, man, just know how to get everybody up and off their, on their feet clapping. But like, I was just sitting there disgusted. Like, you guys, even in the pregame show, that guy who always does the E3 hosting, going back to the couch, that guy.
I know who he is. Yeah, I can see his face. I don't know his name.
Even them, or even they. And I think Boogie was sitting there with them as well. Like, we need to hear about, like, they should say something, and nothing. We got nothing.
Wow.
I think the only cool thing, interesting besides Doom that came out of the Bethesda show was Orion. I'm interested to see where our Orion goes, especially for like mobile streaming.
I'm so disappointed you said that, Josh.
What?
I know that there was a paid crowd out there, and I don't know where the hell they people to cheer on Todd Howard as he came out.
You think it was a paid crowd?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my, if Todd Howard's mother would have booed him when he came out, that's how bad of a year that they've had. That is insane.
Holy
I cannot
smokes.
believe that they...
Sorry, Mrs. Howard.
Yeah, right. Sorry,
I mean, I didn't like it. I'm not sure, but like, those people in that crowd, they really were behind.
He's a
those
superstar,
and
they were getting excited over the mobile shit too.
Oh yeah, half their conference was
Blades
just
thing. It's just like,
oh, don't forget that we're making money off Fallout Bunker. So if you haven't downloaded that, give us some money.
Yeah,
we get it. The entire crowd is paid for at least the first 20 rows.
You're probably
was
right.
On camera.
You're probably right. I actually apologize for being that naive that I wouldn't think that. You guys are right, but I think, and this is like kind of what I alluded to before, the culture that surrounds this conference, and not just this conference, but like just gaming as a whole lately, I think it's really harmful to the industry and also like the products that we get. Because like these people, like we just said, like they'll get excited about anything. You'll see the tweets. I mean, like you could literally give them like literally any product. If it like had Microsoft's name on it, they'd be like, yeah, I'm getting that. Can't wait for that. Like if it like they show Master Chief for 1 second, like they're like, yeah, well, I'm buying that. It's like, well, hang on. Like, is this gonna be any good? I don't know. Like there are definitely the paid actors, and I agree. But this like unhealthy culture of liking every single thing that is made by anybody is really killing the industry.
Completely dismissing everything following up to it. All the failures, and I mean, I don't know. I want to know how much they paid those people to build that giant Lego car for the Forza reveal. What the hell? Like, why even?
Why bother? I mean, who is that excited for?
I mean, if they had time to do that, they could have put some gameplay together.
Right.
Forza's pretty cool. I mean, I like what they're doing there, but I really don't understand the Lego thing. I feel like there's not much crossover. Maybe I'm wrong between people who like cars and people who like Legos.
I mean, at least years prior they brought real cars.
You saying a Lego car is not a real car?
Well,
for sure.
I think the debate is still raging
okay.
on.
I thought it was still open. Yeah. How do you guys feel about we talked about like not seeing a ton of new IP. This is gonna be a tough question to answer, but bear it with me here. I guess try to answer it if you can. Where is the line where a franchise just has to die? You know, like I said, Halo Infinite, I love it. I love Halo. I love Halo. Yeah, you get stuff like Watch Dogs 3, but even something like Elder Scrolls 6. I love Elder Scrolls. I talk about it all the time. Or even something like Final Fantasy. What are we on? Like Final Fantasy 85?
Gears of War 5.
Gears of War 5, which
I mean,
those
I'm
Terminator
actually pretty
skins. But
excited
anyway,
for it.
like where is the line where people stop getting excited for the same franchise and like these studios need to move on? Because like I feel like we got 80% of just remakes or sequels or something this E3, and I don't know.
Nostalgia is a powerful emotion.
Yeah, but it's got to go away eventually, right? They can't
Well,
make
yeah.
Halo
Star
for
Wars.
80 years.
I mean, nostalgia's powerful, but you also have to think too, like those kind of games, like they already have like the characters developed. They already have this like stories developed. You know what I mean? They already have like a lot of things developed that they don't have to sink costs in to redevelop. So that's why you keep seeing those again. You know what I mean? They already sunk costs when they made the first game, and now they can just bring some of that stuff forward, and it's cheaper for them to make those kind of things. So I think that's one of the big reasons too, especially because like video game industry is struggling per se right now.
Yeah,
So
you're definitely right. I mean, you're definitely right. I get why they're doing it, but I just wish that some of the consumers would eventually push back on this stuff.
yeah, I mean you would think, but
I mean, as much as I like Halo and Gears, I could care less if we get another game, honestly. Like, it's never going to be what it was. Let it go.
That's a good point. I agree with you that with that pushback, and Dave's totally right too. I mean, it just makes sense to rehash this stuff that's already been there and done before. It's way easier than thinking up something new and taking a risk. But isn't it just people's really bad, purchasing habits? Like
Yeah.
they just go out and pre-order and buy everything. It doesn't matter as long as that name's on there.
Yeah.
Whether it was good, bad, whatever, they put in enough time where they can't refund it to Steam or whatever, and that's that. It was a shit game. They rant for a little bit and we're on to the next thing.
Yeah, you're right. I think like I'm talking about it like, or I proposed the question or the problem as it's the problem with the devs and the studios, but really, I think you're right. The duty is on the consumers to say enough is enough. Because if I'm a big studio, to Dave's point, I'll make the same game. I'll make Call of Duty every year until you're ready to throw up.
yeah, right.
And they have.
They're literally not even coming up with anything new. They can't even come up with a new name. And everybody's all hyped about it.
They did remake this
You
thing.
know? They're like, oh, we got to go back to modern because Advanced and Ghost just killed it for us.
Yeah, well, that game they came out with, Dave, what was that game that you had where you could like use the jetpacks in midair and fly around from left to right?
Oh my
Black Ops.
god.
Or Advanced War. Or...
Advanced Warfare. I mean, whoever made that game should be fucking killed. I loved Call of Duty. I played that game, and I played it for like I played online for like not like you know what I mean, like 5 hours, and I literally wanted to fucking kill myself.
It was horrible. That's what we just played the Plants vs Zombies shooter instead.
Yeah, like I would literally would rather play fucking GI Joes than that fucking game.
I'd rather drive the Lego car off a fucking cliff.
Yeah. I've never had a more miserable experience in my entire life.
If I could have bought Black Ops just for Blackout, like I know now you can buy Blackout separately, but I really wish they would have done that at launch. I mean, of course, shame on me for thinking they would do that, when they can milk 60 out of somebody like me who will buy it for Blackout. But the last Call of Duty game I got was Modern Warfare 3. I bought it at midnight release and took it back the next day and traded it in for GTA 4, which was already years old at the It was like
That's
what
a
else?
testament to it.
Yeah.
So are there any other individual games that you guys want to hit before we? I don't know. I feel like we've already been talking just about E3 as a whole, but I just don't want to gloss over anything that you really wanted to hit.
Well,
I do want to hit
FF.
Well, I mean, we can hit FF.
Oh yeah, I guess we really didn't hit it. Yeah.
Before I gloss over, I was kind of confused with the Halo Infinite trailer. Maybe I just haven't seen Master Chief in a long time, but I don't understand how he was like floating out in space and then like they boot him up and he's like total robot man.
If I
And
remember,
I thought he's a real person, right? That's
yeah,
John.
he was in a suit. Yeah.
Yes. Like how has he survived out in space for that long? And
Apparently, the Mjolnir armor is just like man's greatest achievement next to the Mac gun in the Halo universe.
He's genetically
He is. He's souped up
enhanced,
too.
but I mean that wouldn't. I mean,
I mean, in
you're
Halo
floating
2,
in-
he
you're-
leaped
you're
out
floating
into
in-
space. Remember,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
gonna
who
give
knows
him
how
back their
long
bomb.
I know, but this time he's like unconscious or dead, sitting in space. I feel like no one's asked this question, and all of a sudden the dude just like gives him some juice from the spaceship. He's like, I gave you the power. Now you're back. Like,
Now
Yeah,
that
and
you
he's got
say
this tracker on still. That's like live.
yeah, and
Um,
then he's like not even a real person. He first, what's he say? Status report first thing. Like,
Yeah.
I get he was like all business.
that,
he
it
really
jumps
didn't
right
say a
back
whole
out
lot.
into open space.
Yeah, it was kind of cool, but like you would think he would have been like, like he had a little bit like of inflection in his voice in the past. I remember that, and he could ask questions, aside from like status report. I don't get if that's like what they were trying to imply, that like he's missing something, like with the Cortana thing. He's like kind of like walking towards.
I've
Or maybe
never
her, I don't
gotten
know.
the Cortana shit.
Well, she's essentially affected because the grave mine gave her that AI disease that apparently they introduced in either the books or the Halo War series. So she's
Oh.
affected now by what would be like the flood virus, but in
Computer world.
digitally. So,
Oh, Lord.
but at the end of
It's a
5, I don't
mess.
really remember. They saved Chief from getting taken away by Cortana. So, and I think that ended with Cortana activating the rings or starting to activate the rings. But I don't remember there being some fight on a ring and them saying they lost. I don't recall that at all. So I'm really not, unless there's something in the expanded universe that explains it. I don't recall anything from the games giving us any of that.
No, why does a ring being blown up mean they lost? I thought like that's what they were trying to do.
Right, I thought that was the good thing.
Yeah,
that they can't,
I'm confused as well. I haven't played any of the 343 crap.
Did they understand
I
what's
haven't
going
had an
on?
Xbox.
Maybe
I
I don't know. Everyone was so excited that I feel like maybe it's just too early that no one's had any time to formulate any questions about these things. It just seemed odd to me.
Yeah.
The whole trailer. Like
No,
what?
To you and everybody else, man.
There's no story to it. Like what am I doing? Like I get it. Like okay, we lost, but like we just hashed out. Like isn't that a good thing that the rings fucking broke? I don't know.
I don't. It same goes for Gears of War. Honestly, I really enjoyed 1 and 2. 3 was okay. I didn't even play Judgment, and 4 was actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But the story they're going with it is just so far from what I would ever expected. We had the Locust, and then the Locust became the Lambent, and then the Lambent were gone, and now we have what's called the Swarm.
Yeah,
Just
let the IP die.
Yeah, that might be the safest bet.
Put Marcus Phoenix out of his misery.
How old is he now? Like 103?
He died in the 4th one, quote unquote, and they rescued him.
Good for him. Oh, they
Right.
rescued him. Damn.
They were gonna kill him. It was like, damn, that was big. And then they're like, nah, he's all right.
He had finally gotten out.
Well, isn't his dad alive too? I remember at the end of, I don't know if it was 3 or 4, that like you hear his dad talking and you're like, oh.
I'm not quite sure, but it's all about his son now, as well as the daughter of the queen, which we don't really know.
Didn't you see the Terminators are coming?
Oh, is it Arnold's back? He's gonna.
Yeah, you guys didn't see the crossover?
I mean, I don't care. Whatever. I don't really care. I'm not going to put extra money out for the Terminator stuff, but I'll still get Gears of War 5, especially the fact that it has crossplay.
Yeah. Let's talk about FF7.
Okay.
Which maybe this is a shining piece of hope for me. I thought it looked pretty good.
It looks I mean, they did a good job with it. It really speaks a lot to how much time and effort they obviously put into this, to how good the gameplay looked in game. Like when they're fighting that, I guess it's like a mini boss, that first boss, the giant scorpion, like mech thing. Like that fight looks pretty intense. Like the banter seems good between Cloud and Barrett. It looks fun. Looks fun to play.
The
which is
music
important.
hit me immediately on the trailer.
Mm.
Immediately. And we got the Tifa and Sephiroth reveal on the trailer.
Yeah. Tifa looked cool, like really cool.
I would have liked
Yeah.
to see Red or Vincent too, but I know they can't show everybody.
Someone, I feel like I was watching the quartering and he'd said Tifa was DLC or something. I
No, I
don't
hope
remember
not.
seeing anything about that, but hopefully that was just a joke.
I mean, isn't that part in 7 and maybe you can I mean, I played it, but you guys definitely, at least Wolf has way more experience with it than I do. But wasn't she a big part when you were learning about when you were in that broken down town, down in that cellar,
When you're
right?
in the slums, yeah, at the Avalanche hideout, yeah.
And you find out about Zach, or is that later? But
You really don't find out about Zach until way later.
But Tifa was a big part of that whole segment, was she not? So to make her DLC, I mean, I know that's probably not going to be in this game. That'll probably either, I would imagine
no,
probably disc.
It's in there. But at least if it's the part you're thinking of at the beginning, they show them sitting at the bar together, drinking. Like that happens, and they talk.
I was thinking about when Sephiroth and him, that burned out village.
Oh, at Nibelheim, like their hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're in the basement of the Shinra mansion. So that won't be in the first game for sure. Because all this game covers, which is probably the biggest gripe, and what makes me worried that it's gonna suck, is that it only covers Midgar. So that's like 5-10% of the game. That's it.
And what's the cost gonna be for these? Do we know?
So I would say $60
$60
plus
a pop?
whatever they want to sell you on after that.
Yeah, well, I think it's $60 a pop, and then you have to get the Ubisoft $15 a month.
Do you? And
yeah.
the Square Enix 15.
Yeah, you have to get a couple different logins.
If you combine them, you can make the Megazoid and
it all makes sense if you read the fine print. It's all there.
If the music sounds as good as it did in the trailer, it's it's a plus for me already. I mean, I'll probably get it. I've never been like that big of a Final Fantasy guy. I mean, I enjoyed the games that I played and would definitely go back and we're getting the 8 remake now, right? Which I already thought they digitally remastered. But
they skipped that one for some reason. They did 9 and 10. They didn't do 7 and 8. But if it's anything, I mean, what you could probably expect, which probably makes the most sense, is you'll probably have to buy Final Fantasy VII Remake, this first one, and it'll probably be $60. And they may do something like they did with 15, how they did like episode Ignis and episode Gladio or whatever. And for each character arc, they added like a large DLC, and I believe most of them were either like $20 or $40. And I want to say one of them might have been free, but do something like that where they can just kind of add on to the game, so you don't have to.
From somebody who's really enjoyed that turn-based combat, I mean, I'm just going to assume here that you've always liked Final Fantasy. What do you think of this? What do they call it?
They do the ATB.
The ATB system. Yeah,
but it's the same as the original. I think that's what it was called. I'm almost positive that's what it was called in the first Final Fantasy VII. But they would show that little gauge filling up as you waited, and then that's how you knew to take your turn. You could make the gauge fill up faster with like certain moves, but it looks cool because you kind of do it's action. Like you swing his sword, each button press like moves. You can block, you can dodge, little Dark Souls esque kind of gameplay. And then when you go into like this, you charge the bar, you get to use a move, you can almost like freeze time, and it goes into like that ultra slow-mo, and like it kind of spins. You have your time to like decide what you're going to do, where you're going to attack, or who you're going to attack. So I guess
you can hotkey that stuff too, right?
You can, so you get the best of both worlds, right? In that sense, you could be straight action, which will probably appeal to newer people, to the franchise. More like a Kingdom Hearts kind of gameplay. And then maybe you'll have people that like that aspect of kind of slowing things down and picking your shots. I don't know.
I liked it. I really liked that you're able to move around freely on the battlefield and also like take your turns. I think it's pretty cool.
What are they gonna pack into 2 Blu-ray discs for just like you said, possibly 10% of the game? You know, like what new stuff are we gonna get, or what can they expand on?
I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you played 13. I don't think it was. Maybe it was multi-disc for the PS3, but the rate at which they they incorporate like the cutscenes and that to tell the story is just insane. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do something similar here. It's just packed full of like movie-esque content to
I didn't
to
think
flesh out
about
the
the
story.
cutscene.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's just gonna be
I,
so much, which would be cool. I think it'll be really cool. One thing that bugged me the most, I don't know if you guys noticed it, and they made a huge point to highlight when Cloud and Barrett were in the same group. So like Cloud's got the sword, Barrett's got the gun on his arm. They're like, yeah, so like Barrett can shoot at range, and they show Cloud like trying to swing at these guys that are up on a like a railing or something. He can't get to them. He's like swinging at the wall. It looks real stupid. And then
Mm.
you switch characters to Barrett. He starts shooting them. I'm just kind of worried that, in the original game, you could pick whoever you wanted to be in your group. And now it's, maybe you don't even get that option anymore because like you may end up getting to the point where like you just can't
Yeah.
kill certain enemies because they're flying. It was very rare that
It
happens.
seemed like you needed Barrett to even kill that mini boss when he's like on the walls and
Right. Well, I mean, because there's no one else to pick from at that point in the game. But
right, yeah,
later
just you two,
on,
yeah.
they might like hamstring you into like you're playing as these guys now. You're playing as these guys now. You don't get to pick. Which is kind of worrying.
you have any sort of hype for the Final Fantasy 14 expansion? You're just straight classic WoW guy.
Oh no Final Fantasy 14 for me. It's too that game's too hard to get back into. I don't know if Ben's not here to speak to it, but when you jump back in, we did everything during the original game. There was like 15 hours of story content that you have to do to get like back into the expansion. You just can't skip it. You can't like just like in WoW, you can't just like go to the new expansion and start leveling. Like there's hard and fast story that you have to sit through. So no, I would not be playing the new expansion. Not a chance.
So I guess in like kind of a closing fashion or closing arguments or statements, how do you guys, what were your thoughts on E3? If you could like wrap it up or give like a general mood. I mean, were you let down? Were you excited? Was it worth watching?
There's definitely stuff to be excited for, but all in all, I don't think we just got what we needed to get from those big hitters. So to me, it was just kind of like, can I just fast forward through this and just,
Yeah, can I mute the presentation and just watch the trailers?
Give me the condensed version. I agree. I didn't get to watch a ton of it live. I was most of it, but the parts I did watch live were painfully boring. And the big highlights, the compilations that are put together, most of the games feel pretty uninspired. And as like a side, most of the major announcements, I don't want to say major announcements, a lot of the announcements for a lot of these companies weren't actually games. Like they were like for characters or like
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
extras or like you can buy this or here's our subscription thing. And well, there's
remake.
the Project Scarlet for Xbox, like get excited for what we're doing next thing, which is fine. I mean,
PC actually took the time out to announce a monitor from Samsung.
yeah, who
What?
cares? Like this is not what this is about. You're selling us on these games for the future. Like hardly any of the stuff is coming out right now. I guess they do have to try and recoup some money at the show. Then I don't know.
What do you think, Dave? I haven't heard from you in a while.
I don't know. Like it. I don't think it's like terrible, but it's just like not. You know what I mean? There's nothing like that exciting. There's nothing that like makes you like jump off your chair and like whoa, like oh my god, this is so cool.
Yeah, just stuff that
And-
we've seen before.
Yeah,
I felt like.
I know we bagged on remakes for 20 minutes, but that Link's Awakening remake, I don't know. Look, I might have to snag that for my.
I mean, I'm not bagging on remakes. I don't mind a good remake, but I think at the same time I would just rather have something new. I think if you asked, like, if you had a gun to my head and you asked me, hey, do you want a remake of one of your favorite older games from 15 years ago, or do you want us to put all that time, money, and energy into this new story and this new IP that we think has a lot of value and may have legs? I would say give me the new IP.
Yeah.
Any day of the week. I don't think that there is a game that could be remastered that I wouldn't say that about.
I'd say starting maybe even earlier than last year, but the conference has definitely become, I think, more geared towards investors rather than the audience, the gaming community.
Yeah,
that's
it
true.
didn't. Yeah, I think one of my big questions was that I just didn't see a lot of passion from this. Like you said, they're like selling services and they're saying stuff's coming out on Switch, and that's all fine and dandy. I mean, they can announce whatever they want, but I don't know if you guys did see any passion in this conference. Where did it come from? I mean, I'm sure there were glimmers of it, but maybe in some of the indie games.
I'm not sure there were. The one thing that I thought might get a lot of hype was that Pokemon Sword and Shield, and like the gameplay of it and things like that. And it looked fine, the game in general, but what kind of took it out of me, it took the wind out of my sails with they keep doing this thing with Nintendo, and I think Square was doing it too, where they have the Japanese people on there talking and speaking in Japanese, and then having somebody translate,
Yeah.
and then having
Yeah.
someone speaking in English also on there, like trying to ask them questions. It just like it made it hard to like stay engaged, I guess. Just I don't know. I don't mind hearing Japanese either. It's just it just seemed awkward at times.
There was a few people who came on stage on top of what you just kind of reminded me of that, Wolf. I wanted to actually say that, but there were multiple presenters who could barely speak English. And for a conference, maybe this sounds ignorant, but for a conference that takes place in the US, yeah, it's internet, it's globally broadcasted, right? But for somebody who's speaking to like an English speaking audience, I feel like you should have a presenter or somebody there to translate, but not to talk at the same time to like go on as what you're saying as well.
Right.
I just think the presentations just all in all
Well,
could
yeah.
be
Well,
better.
I mean, if you're speaking like broken English, who's the audience for that? I mean, it would only be English speakers, and we don't like it. It's not gonna, like
have
someone
that
that
person
speaks a different language isn't gonna like pick that up.
just have him speak his native language, and there be, because there's a screen, for the people who are watching there's a giant screen, right? And I would think that they probably rehearsed all this, so, and I know a lot of it's going to be, there's some that's going to be off the cuff, but have somebody there to, help them out, at least, some of those guys were just, I couldn't even, and I would say that I'm pretty decent with accents, but some of those guys I just could not understand at all. But that's just me.
People are going crazy over that Ikumi Nakamura,
Yeah.
the Japanese woman that works on the Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah, she was the Bethesda.
And I mean, she was kind of funny, like I get it, but it was kind of difficult to understand like the message they're trying to send with that. I mean, was it cute, and is it going to get like a lot of, I don't know, internet points? Like sure, it got a ton of internet points, but I'm not sure, like, did it get the point across to me, like why I want to be like buying your game?
I'm going to stand behind what I said and say that Nintendo definitely took the overall conference, but I think to go on what we're talking about now is it definitely suffered without that guy. I don't remember his name, who has always hosted in the past. that real tall guy.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Oh, he I think it definitely suffered without him, leading the presentation for sure.
I think maybe Keanu Reeves took it this year. I think I'll be seeing John Wick 4.
I'll give you that.
I think that's really what I took out of it. But that honestly, that might have been who won E3.
Definitely.
Which is a joke. It's funny to say, but that was a joke when I said that. But actually, like now that I'm thinking about it, like genuinely, he might have won E3.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think he did.
I think that was definitely one of the coolest things, which isn't saying too much.
No, it's not.
This out.
Yeah, you like the shirt he was wearing was unbelievable.
He's just such a genuine, cool dude. He's hard not to like. So I mean, he literally could have presented anything at the show and it would have been memorable. But I mean, Cyberpunk 2077, like, the trailer, I mean, it looks amazing. The story seems cool from what you could get. I don't know the setting, but again, like there's just nothing.
Yeah, I think we
nothing
needed a
there.
demo.
Yeah. I think we really miss Sony being there, but they use a really nice presentation, and they're
Who
usually
else goes there? I can't remember. It's like 2 letters. They usually show up. They got that worst company in the world a
EA?
few times. Yeah.
Well, they had like a little
Oh,
something.
yeah,
They had like a
yeah.
little something beforehand.
They were
the
there.
The EA Play or whatever it was.
I didn't miss them at all, having their own stage. They seem to screw it up every time.
No, what did they even announce?
Fallen
Order and
Fallen Order
FIFA and Madden. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Woohoo. Thanks, EA. Yeah, we'll fucking see you next year. Get out of here.
The only thing I'll miss about that is the memes coming in the meme video they always release post E3.
Yeah,
it's
the best.
The good EA jabs.
Oh yeah, well, I'm sure we'll get some stuff.
Oh, we definitely will.
There's enough cringe to go around. Trust me, you could make hours long of content. You probably it would probably be no effort. You could probably just not even cut it. Just put it up. Just put the conference up. Yeah.
I was so bummed out when they were talking about Madden.
I didn't even watch it.
Just as a side note, I guess that I really like simulation sports games, like the more real you can get, and they're just taking steps in the wrong direction. They're making it so arcadey, like they're giving players like these dynamic abilities or whatever, like what's his, like Alvin Kamara gets like this like route running thing where he just like torches like linebackers and stuff. Like they can't keep up with his route running because he's so dynamic. Yeah, it's just like shit like that. Aaron Donald gets this thing like if he just like pushes, if he gets like a good push on the line, like and pushes the offensive lineman back a little bit, and you get anywhere near the quarterback, you don't have to like disrupt them or get a hand up or anything. That it puts pressure on the quarterback, so they're like more likely to make bad throws. But just because it's him.
What's Brady get?
He gets the GOAT.
Are you unable to not complete a pass or what?
You can't retire, and
you have to keep on yourself.
You have to. You just have to keep playing forever.
You're such a troll.
That's hilarious. Probably gets nothing. He's the best player that has ever played the game. And
right, but it's so dumb.
He's like an 84 overall.
Has he even been on the cover yet, or no?
That's a good question. I feel like he hasn't, but I have no idea.
He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want the Madden curse, bro.
Is that it?
Has to be.
That makes more sense.
Couldn't think of another reason.
Oh, Mahomes gets his like no look pass.
Don't. Oh, you're gonna make me puke.
Yeah, it's great.
He got smoked.
He like no look sidearms it as he's like rolling out.
He passed his way out of the playoffs. Get him out of here.
It's scary. It's really scary what they're doing. EA, that's a bad company, I think. Bad motives.
Yeah. Oh, they're all starting to get that way. But let's wrap there. I think that's probably enough, unless anybody really has something that they really want to say.
Thanks again for having me on the show, guys. I appreciate you letting me come in and BS.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. That was a lot of fun. Thanks, Adam, Dave.
It was great.
Yeah.
Thanks for fucking suffering through. Yeah, suffering through E3. I think that's really what I should be saying thank you for. Holy crap! But all right, cool. Well, thanks again. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and we're all on Twitter. And also check us out on YouTube, where we put the podcasts up, as well as some of our other videos as well. Thank you, and we'll hopefully see you next week.